Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And hello, everybody. Here we are again, another amazing Spiritual Rockstar podcast show. I am so excited as always, and I'm extra excited today with Dr. Margaret Paul. She's going to be talking to us about the inner bonding process. I want to say the power to heal yourself, because it is a process. It's incredible. She is going to demonstrate this for us, and you're going to be blown away, I predict, by what she has to share. And you're going to be blown away by her energy. So we're going to get started with that in just a moment. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate, Make Money meditation today. Just so blessed to have you here, Margaret. It's just such an honor.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. So let me go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about you here. Dr. Margaret Paul is a best-selling author, relationship expert, and co-creator of the powerful inner bonding self-healing process, recommended by authors Marci Shimoff, Dr. Morter, Anat Baniel, and singer Alanis Morissette. She has appeared on numerous radio and television shows, including Oprah. Oh, yes. Okay. Her book titles include Do I Have to Give Up Me to Be Loved by You? Healing Your Aloneness, Inner Bonding, and recently released Diet for Divine Connection and the Inner Bonding Workbook. Margaret has successfully worked with thousands around the world and taught classes and seminars for over 50 years. Oh my God, the wisdom here is off the charts, Margaret. Okay, we're so blessed. So Margaret, you've had such an amazing life. I want to say, like, I'm tuned in, so I just say it the way it comes to me. Like, I just know, like, oh, you've had this amazing life. You've experienced, I'm sure, some heartache, some trauma, some heartbreak, in your life, big time, right? So, because I could see, like, people meet you, like, oh my God, your energy is so great, and you're so divine and all this stuff, and you're like, yeah, maybe it seems that way now. I don't know, you don't know, like, what I've dealt with. So I like to, talk about that first. Usually is what brought you to the point of sharing around this inner bonding work, this healing work, which we'll get into, but what brought you to doing this work?
Well, like so many people, I was brought up in a dysfunctional family with narcissistic parents, an only child. And actually, I decided when I was 5, because I was pretty much of a wreck. My mother took me to a psychiatrist thinking it was all my problem. Of course, it wasn't hers. And the psychiatrist said to me, my mother was a rageaholic, so the psychiatrist says, tell your mother not to yell at you. And I remember thinking, I'm 5 years old and she's not going to listen to me. And why don't you tell her? And then my next thought was, I could do a better job than you. I was 5. And that's when I decided to do this work. And so that was the beginning of it. And I had a ton of my own therapy, including 4.5 years of psychoanalysis, lots and lots of traditional therapy. And I was a traditional psychotherapist for 17 years. And my issues weren't resolved, my anxiety, my stress, my insecurity. I was not happy with my own therapy and the therapy I was doing with others. And that's when I started to pray for a process that would really work, that would work fast and deep and be very healing, and that people could learn on their own. And that's when I met the co-creator of Inner Bonding, Dr. Erica Chopich, and she had half the process, I had half the process. So of course we had to meet, and Spirit came in and put it together for us. And that was 35 years ago. And so I've been practicing the process since then, been completely life-changing for me and for the now hundreds of thousands of people around the world who have been practicing this process.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. I love that. There's someone already, had this in process, but it needed, it needed that collaboration, that partnership to take it to a whole nother level of depth and impact in the world. And how amazing is that? And those are things that I just want to make a note on that because again, I feel like we're mentoring, spiritual leaders, up and coming light leaders, etc. And those are things that magically come together in a way, like they're part of our path and our destiny is my own belief. But like it's a magical thing that gets that unfolds, and it's one of those things. Like I just want to warn people, like don't expect like, oh, that sounds cool. I'd love to partner with somebody. Let me just attach to somebody and make that happen. Like it doesn't work that way. You got to follow the breadcrumbs, right, Margaret? You got to follow the breadcrumbs, whatever suits your path best is what's gonna rock. So that I mean that, but that's incredible that you connected with that soulmate, so to speak, in this life to bring this work into the world. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really was such an amazing thing to know that I needed something. I know that I needed a teacher, I needed a process, I needed something. And Erica showed up. She's been my best friend for the last 36 years, and she's my inner bonding buddy. So when I get stuck, I go to her. She gets stuck, she comes to me. And I just feel very blessed that this process came through, because I hear from people all over the world every day that they've had tons of therapy and done workshops and read books, and nothing has done it for them like inner bonding. And so I'm always thrilled to offer it, and I'm thrilled with how powerful it is.
Wow, wow. Well, let's take it a step further here in a moment. I just want to comment on like when you talked about you said you're 5 years old and you already knew like I need like you're
Yeah,
already clear about things, right? Like I
yeah,
mean, I think a lot of like some of the people listening, and a number of them probably had similar experiences in a way. Or like, wait a minute, like I know better than the adults here. Like,
right. That's right. I did.
exactly. Exactly. Like we have that awakened presence. We're more connected in some ways sometimes as kids. Like we have that enlightened presence. We're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I know I have that experience too. So you went on this quest. And that was one of the things we shared is that I had been a therapist and I saw the wonderful things that can happen through that and also the downside of it in terms of like we've got to put diagnoses on people, which can be helpful in a certain way, maybe, but it also is very stigmatizing. It doesn't actually really address the problems, right? So, like, oh, you're
Right.
bipolar, you're depressed. Oh, I'm depressed. No, I'm this person that's depressed. I'm living out of that box. Right? Rather than getting down to the work that actually would allow them to experience their wholeness as they are, because I'm sure you agree, but like, don't I mean, wouldn't you say like fundamentally we are well already, and it's just a matter of needing some support through like what you do to allow ourselves to experience that. Is that right?
Well, yeah, because we all have a whole unbroken part of us inside, but so many of us, we don't know about that.
Mhm.
And so we develop this ego, what we call the wounded self and inner bonding. That's just programmed with all these fears and false beliefs. And then we think that's who we are. And that is not who we are. We are this beautiful, beautiful, perfect soul essence. And so healing happens as we learn to address all of these false beliefs and heal them and discover how incredible we really are. I mean, each one of us is a unique expression of the divine. And so as we learn about that, then we start to cherish who we are. And the more we know that, the more we can take loving care of ourselves, which is really what inner bonding is about. Lots of people hear, yeah, I got to love myself, but they have no idea what that means. They think it means, I take a hot bath or I go to the gym or I eat well. And that's fine on the physical level. But very few people know how to take emotional responsibility. Very few people know how to love themselves on the emotional level. And that's what inner bonding is about. I mean, it's about also taking care of ourselves physically, financially, spiritually, relationally, organizationally. But a lot of people know about those things, but they don't know about how to do it emotionally.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's true. I mean, people say take care of yourself. So, like you said, okay, we'll do some yoga, some chanting, some prayers, some this, some that, and makes us feel better. It does help. It absolutely is part of loving yourself. But
Right.
go into the deeper aspect of our emotions, that's a whole nother story because you can do all that, and all of a sudden you're got volcanoes, coming out of you. You're melting
Yeah.
down there in the middle of the day sometimes anyway, and it still happens even with all the self care. It can still happen, and all it's because it's under the hood, right? So it's things we haven't got into. So with the inner bonding, like what is it exactly? Let's get into more exactly what is it, and how does that help us to address the emotional aspects and the deeper aspects that need to be addressed?
So inner bonding is a 6-step pathway. And as people follow the steps, actually what happens is that they develop new neural pathways in their brain for being able to love themselves, because few of us had any role models. My parents were horrible role models for loving themselves. And so most of us, we don't see that. We don't see what it looks like to do that. And so as people learn and practice the 6 steps, which I can go through if you'd like, very briefly. Okay, so step 1. See, what happened when we were growing up is that most of us, childhood can be painful. It was for me. And when you're little, you don't have any way of handling the pain. And so we learn to disconnect from our feelings. And one of the ways we learn is we go up in our head, because our feelings are in our body. So if you're in your head, then you're not attending to your feelings. You might not even know you have any feelings. So step 1 is that journey from the head into the heart and soul, into your body, learning to get present in your body with your feelings, and actually wanting responsibility for them. And then the second step, inner bonding, is based on a concept of intention. And that at any given moment, either our intention is to learn about loving ourselves and sharing our love with others, or our intention is to protect against pain with some form of controlling behavior, which we've all learned to do. So in step 2, we consciously move into the intention to learn about loving ourselves, and people learn how to open to a higher source of love and compassion, and they invite that in. It's just, I invite in the love and compassion of spirit into my heart. And then that creates what we call the loving adult. And the loving adult is who we are when we're open to learning and we're connected with that higher source. Then in step 3, we're going inside, we're dialoguing. Let's say that I go inside in step 1 and I realize that I'm feeling depressed. So then in step 3, I'm going to go inside and say, what am I telling you? How am I treating you? Because we can think of our feelings like our inner child. And that's our soul. That's who we really are. And so we're saying, how am I treating you? What am I telling you? What am I doing or not doing that's depressing you? And so then we go inside and we let those feelings speak. And those feelings might say, well, you don't even know I'm here. You're just ignoring me. You got me in a cage. You don't let me be who I am. You tell me I'm too much. I've got to calm down. I've got to be different. I'm not good enough. You don't let me express myself. You don't let me speak up. You're constantly judging me. You tell me I got to be perfect. I got to do everything right. Of course I'm depressed. How do how else would I feel being treated that way? And so most people don't realize that their feelings like anxiety and depression and guilt and shame and anger and aloneness and emptiness and jealousy are coming from, most of the time, from how we're treating ourselves and what we're telling ourselves. And so we want to know that. We want to know, how are we abandoning ourselves rather than loving ourselves? And then when we figure out what we're doing, we go a little deeper into why. Well, what are my beliefs? Is my belief that if I judge myself and tell myself that I'm not doing it right and I've got to be perfect, well, then maybe I can, if I do it right, then maybe I can have control over how other people feel about me. And it's only if other people like me that I'm okay. You see, so there's all these false beliefs that people are unconsciously operating from. Well, in step 3, we're discovering those. And once we understand how we're treating ourselves and why, then we learn to again access that higher source of love and truth. And we're asking, what is the truth about any of these false beliefs? And what's loving to me? Because we can't, who are we going to ask? We have to ask a source, a higher source, a powerful source of love and truth. What's loving to me? And then as we learn to access that information, which I learned to do now, I ask it all day long. I don't do anything without getting that guidance of what's loving to me. And then the next step, step 5, is we do it. We do whatever's loving. You know, if the guidance says you got to stop eating sugar and eat, healthy, or get more exercise, or attend to your feelings, or speak up for yourself, or look into changing jobs, whatever it is, we've got to start to take action for ourselves in step 5. And then in step 6, we go back in and see how we're feeling. And if we have taken a loving action, we are going to feel relief. And that's how we know that we're loving ourselves. That relief is quite profound when we're taking loving action for ourselves.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I mean, the steps you lay out are, probably similar to what some of the work that I do actually. So I really resonate with what you're saying. And it always comes down to that too. Like once you do get in that connection, like following what you know to be true, like if your guidance then from connecting to that energy in your higher self is like, hey, okay, it's time to do this then you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, totally, 100%. Then you don't do it. It's like, okay, now you've really essentially accomplished very little because that energy just could have come back and say, what the hell are you doing? It's going to go nuts. So,
well, and if we don't listen and we don't do it,
right.
Eventually that guidance says, well, if you're not going to listen, you're not going to do it, then I'm going to stop talking to you. And that's very sad because to me, my life totally changed when I started listening to my higher guidance. And by being open to learning and listening, that's the way we keep our frequency high enough to manifest what we want. And I've been stunned at what I can manifest as a result of being open to learning about loving myself and developing that ongoing connection with my higher guidance, which now I have. I can tap into it at any time. When I first started to practice it, I didn't know how to do that. But inner bonding gives people the tools for having that, what I call at will divine connection, so that you can access that at any time. And what a difference that makes in life to know you're not alone, to know that you are being watched over, you are being guided, that love and that truth and that wisdom and that comfort is always here for all of us. It's an amazing way to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's the way to go. The way I see it, anyway. I would agree. I'm like in the choir with, so to speak. I'm like, yes, 100%. People have been following this show and following me would say, yeah, that sounds very resonant to what I share too. But your process it's just totally unique in itself. Its own thing. So I just love the sense of wholeness that it brings, that there is such a nourishment that comes into you, that in the proof is in your energy. For example, Margaret, people can feel your wholeness when they're around you. They can feel that. That doesn't mean you don't have other things, right? We always have those things, right? Other energies, but the way I perceive those energies, like the parts that are all like, they're still screaming a little bit in the background. It's just, I always see it as, and I'm wondering, I would love to hear like what your answer is for this for yourself. Like I would see it as like screaming out for more love, which means more potential. What I think the mistake people make is they're like, I still got stuff. I still don't love myself. No, it's just more. There's just an infinite amount of love to harness. That's all. That's how I see it. What's your take on because yes, you can break through huge things that you've never broken through before through your process is what I'm hearing, right? I'd love to hear some examples too as we go along of what it's done for you and others. But it's not like it's like everything goes away typically. You still are going to continue to have voices or energies come up, emotions. and it's just more potential that wants to come on board. But to have these fundamental tools to start embodying more of the full wholeness that you are and is invaluable.
Yeah, well, life happens, and no matter how much work we do, we're going to be challenged because that's the journey. That I believe we're here to evolve in our ability to love and to manifest who we are. And that, so it's not, there's no end to it. It's not like, oh, I'm there and I'm done.
Right.
I don't think we're ever there or done. And so I accept the challenges. They're ongoing. I'm going to learn from them. I'm not going to say, oh my God, I thought I was there. I mean, I don't even believe in there. I don't even know what there is. I think it's just an ongoing process. And, relationships challenge us. There's so much that challenges us. And I think relationships are one of the greatest ways of being challenged because, we learn our fears and we learn how to protect ourselves and to try and control and to avoid pain in our first relationships with our parents or other caregivers. And then we can do a lot of work, if we're single, and then we think we're in great shape. I thought I was fine when I first got married, but then everything that's unhealed gets triggered in a relationship.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think it takes courage to be in a relationship and really be open to learning about doing your own work. And to me, it's just ongoing. And I love working with couples. It's what I've specialized in for over 50 years. And one of the things that's so exciting to me is that I see couples like, I'll give an example of a couple that I started seeing recently. And these two have been married about 30 years. And they have a number of adult kids. But they were very distant from each other. They hadn't had sex in years. They had arguments, and they had seen a lot of different counselors. They were on the verge of ending this relationship. What they each didn't realize is that they were each abandoning themselves. And before I go into what happened with them, let me just talk about 4 ways that people generally abandon themselves. One of them I've mentioned, they stay up in their head. The second one is they judge themselves harshly. I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. What's the matter with me? I'm a jerk. I'm flawed. I'm inadequate. I'm a loser. People do this to themselves. Third is they turn to various addictions to numb out their feelings. They have a feeling and they're grazing in front of the refrigerator, or they're turning on the TV, or they're on social media or something to avoid it. And the fourth is, which really affects relationships, is they make the other person responsible for them. They think, well, why am I in a relationship? That person's supposed to make me happy. That person is supposed to make me feel like I matter and that I have some self-esteem. It's up to them to do it. And because we attract at our common level of self-abandonment or our common level of self-love, both people are going to be abandoning themselves in that relationship. And then they're going to be blaming each other. And then they're going to think they're with the wrong partner. So these 2 people come to me, and that's what's happening. They're each abandoning themselves, and they're each making the other person responsible. And they each see what the other person is doing. She sees that he just flies off the handle and gets mad. He just explodes. And so, of course, it's all his fault. And he sees that she just shuts down. She's a wall. She withdraws. She goes away and disconnects from him completely. So, of course, it's all her fault. And this is a very common dynamic. And she would say, well, I wouldn't withdraw if he didn't get mad. And he would say, well, I wouldn't get mad if she would withdraw. And they're in a system. And all relationships have a system. So you look at this system and it's not working at all. And they've been doing it for a long time. But when they're both open to learning, it's magical. Because what happens is I start working with each of them individually, helping them to learn to take responsibility for defining their own beautiful selves, learning how to take loving care of themselves, discovering their self-worth, their passion, their aliveness, their creativity, learning how to manage the painful feelings of life, like learning to manage it if he gets mad or she withdraws without attacking or withdrawing from the other person. And so as they each do this, and if they're each motivated to do it, as these people are, what happens within a very short period of time, like a month or two, is amazing. They start to come together. They start their deep caring that brought them together, their deep love that brought them together starts to emerge as they learn to love themselves. So it's such a magical thing. And I just love it when I see both people being willing to do it. But even if one person does it, it changes the system because it's a system. So if one person changes their end, the system has to change.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, oh, this is really cool. Yeah, this is just really cool. I love this. So I think about that, and I'm married, and I've been married about 17 years, and we have kids. Got my 29-year-old stepdaughter. Have a recent grandchild for the first time, not that long ago. She's just a year old. And then I've got two girls here, around 16, almost 16. I want to say she's 16 already in a few weeks, and then the other one's 13. And my wife, uh, she supports in the business and everything, and that's basically what she does. She supports the family by making sure the kids get whatever they need and schedules and running them to wherever they need to go, dance practices, whatever. I have all these different things, and then she's always a supportive presence for people, like just like, hey, I just thought of this. Hey, you need this, you need that, like just that kind of thing. And so when you're talking about all this, I'm thinking about my own relationship a little bit, and and um, and I think about that the cycles that people do go through. So I think about myself. I think about couples in general, and I wouldn't say I'm a massive relationship expert, although I could help people a lot in that area. But I mean, it's not a specialty area of mine at this point. But I think about it. I think about like when I'm in this relationship with her, like when I think about like the times when things get riled up, right? So I think about, okay, um, she could be in a great mood, right? She could be, I just kind of describe what you're saying. Like she's in a great mood. She's actually feeling really good. And all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'm having such a great day. I'm feeling full of joy. And I'm thinking like, I want to buy, I'm just making it up. This is actually not exactly what it would be, but like similar. It'd be something along these lines. I want to buy a new refrigerator. And then I think it's time to buy a car. And oh, by the way, it just occurred to me, we should also do, pay off that other credit card or whatever it is. Like it's making stuff up, but like it'll be like buy stuff. And oh, and by the way, can you help me out with this or that? And it's like, so number one, like I'm the one that feels like I'm the one responsible to make money because she's not, directly doing that. I then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and then I thought like it'd be so great to paint the deck or whatever, like whatever. I'm like, oh my God, now I've got to do that too. And like, she's like, I'm in such a good mood, aren't you? And I'm like, I'm like, I'm like, I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, I won't want to destroy your joy. But then I have to say something like, I don't know about all that right now. I like, so, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, she's like, I have to get stronger and stronger. I feel like around like limits and boundaries around things. And then she's like, oh, then all of a sudden, like it could turn to disappointment, shutdown, whatever, all those things, right? I'm not trying to get too deep here. I don't think she'd appreciate that online, but I think this is a common dynamic, it's like these sorts of things happen. And then if she shuts down, then in the past, not recently, but like I might even dig into my anger. Well, I'll show her, like I won't talk either, and then we dig our heels in, right? Like each side, and it's pretty interesting. But I love too what you said. Like if what I have found is if I take 100% responsibility for what's unfolding, that it's actually liberating, right? Like I could actually say like, oh, okay, I could have just said like, that's so great you're having all those feelings and that's the way where you're at. That's great. But won't you do this or that? I don't know. I'm maybe you know, let me be with that. You know, I'm not sure yet. Let it soak in. You know, like how could I have shown up differently? How could it have been different? Instead of saying like, well, geez, she's just kind of or she's out of her mind or whatever, you know, labels and stuff, right?
Okay,
But noticing
so
like
let's
how we
do
could have done it
let's
better.
do the inner bonding process. Okay. So imagine that she's in this great mood and she's saying,
Yeah,
oh, let's buy this and let's do this.
right, right.
And just take some deep breaths. Just first take some deep breaths
Oh,
and
yes.
let your breath take you inside your body and scan your body and notice what's going on inside.
Yep.
Notice on the physical level, because our emotions often show up physically. Notice on the physical level what's happening inside when she's in this great mood and then wants this and wants that. And we got to paint the deck and we got to do this. What's happening inside to you?
Yeah, I feel the tension that it came up earlier today for something else. I get my sacral energy just below the belly button there, kind of area.
So breathe into that and imagine that that tension is your inner child, that little boy in you who communicates. That's your soul who communicates often through feelings. So there's a feeling of tension coming up, and this has information for you. So I want you to breathe into that feeling, get present with it, and just make a conscious decision that you're willing to learn to take responsibility for it. Okay, now breathe into your heart and open to learning. And just imagine an older, wiser part of you or whatever you turn to for spirit and say, I invite your love and compassion into my heart. Yeah. And just breathe that in. And now imagine you're having this conversation with this little boy who's tense and say, when she's like that and she's wanting this or that, what am I telling you? How am I treating you? What am I doing or not doing? Not what she's doing, but what am I doing that's making you feel tense? So ask the question and then go inside and let that tension answer about what you're telling yourself when she gets into this great mood and wants everything. What are you telling yourself that makes you feel tense?
Geez, I'm gonna have to make a lot more money to pay for all these things.
Yeah,
I already got too much on my plate, or yeah, things like that.
right. Okay. So um, when you tune into the part of you that's saying, I have to fulfill what she wants. I have to make more money. I'm already under pressure, but I have to do what she wants. How old do you think you were when you started to be a caretaker, when you started to take responsibility for giving others what they want, even if it's not what you necessarily want?
I got four. Four came to me right away.
Okay. So imagine that you have a 4-year-old wounded part of you that learned by the time you were 4 that it's your responsibility to take care of other people and give them what they want as a way for you to feel safe and as a way for you to feel loved and as a way for you to have control over getting love and avoiding pain. So there's a 4-year-old in there telling your soul that he's got to step up to the plate. He's got to earn more money. He's got to give her what she wants. And of course, the tension is the way that your inner child is letting you know that you've put a 4-year-old in charge of you, that you're abandoning yourself by telling yourself that you've got to earn more money and you've got to give her what she wants. So now let's breathe in and open to your higher self, whatever that is, your higher guidance, and ask, is it true that it's my responsibility to do what she wants, even if it's not what I want, or even if it put too much pressure? Is it my responsibility to do that?
Yeah, I get a clear no.
Okay. And now ask, what would be loving to me right now?
Nothing to me right now.
How can I take care of my little boy? If I were to really show up as a loving adult and take care of him right now, what would I do in the face of her saying, I want this, I want that?
Hmm. Just get this feeling of like sitting down and just like sit down, relax. This feeling of like sit down, relax first.
Okay. So maybe not even say anything, just sit down, relax, maybe just smile at her. but stop telling yourself you have to do it. See, this is real key. As soon as you tell yourself you have to do it, you're tense, right?
You know, one of the things that comes, I don't know, this might be more my mind, but it comes into my awareness, like a book I read, I'll just put it that way. You know, there's something that just, okay, like everything's one voice, right? So like remembering that, like, oh, that's just my voice, right? So that's just my voice saying I want things too. And I tend to suppress those desires. So to some, in some areas of my life, not everywhere, some areas I'm really good with it. But other areas I tend to get miserly. I'm like, well, no, not that either. You know, so I'm noticing that. Like, so that's what's coming up too. Is like hearing it like my voice. I want this, I want that, and then I'm like, shut up, we can't have that right now. Like,
okay. So that's interesting. That's what's coming up. So maybe what's loving to you when she's in that great mood and saying what she wants, maybe you say, yeah, but what I want is this, and what I want is that. And yeah, let's go and do this, and I want to do that. And I mean, that might be
you
fun.
play together with her instead of poo-pooing what she's saying.
Yeah, it might be fun. You might get into a fun thing with her where she's saying, well, I want this. And you say, yeah, but I want that. And you know, it's
Yeah, yeah, feed off of each other and have fun with it rather than worry about like I've got to provide it either. Like, no, I don't need to provide it. Let's just
right.
have fun being with the energy of it happening.
That's
You know?
right. That's right. So that might be what's loving to you. And then you would have to try it. You see, you'd have to try that out and see how it feels next time this happens
Mhm.
and see how it feels inside. It might feel great, or there might be a different loving action. Finding the loving action is kind of a creative process. It can be all kinds of things. Like in this situation, it can be, you know, just like what we said, well, I want this or I want that, or it can be just laughing with her or going over and tickling her or walking out of the room and or going outside or taking a walk. I mean, it could be so many different things, but you'd have to try it out. What you're getting is guidance that says, make a game out of it, make it fun. Think about what you want instead of suppressing it and have fun with that. That might be a very loving action for you, Dan, that,
Mhm.
that you can try in these
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah, no, that's good. I love that. I love this process. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love the way you've guided this process is great. I love that. Yeah, I'm already having fun with it. I'm like, can't wait till she talks to me about that stuff again. Now I'm like looking forward to it rather than like
Right.
be part of me guarding almost against it, you know.
That's right. See, so that's the process. Obviously, we just did a very brief process.
Right.
But those are the 6 steps. And maybe you can get a sense of how powerful they are. They can get very deep because people can go very deeply into their fears, their false beliefs, where they got them, things that happened that created their false beliefs. And then really learning. I mean, you have good access to your higher guidance, but a lot of people have to learn that. They have to learn how to tap into that. So it's a learning process. But boy, when people practice this, life really changes for them.
Oh, 100%. I feel like it's changed my life to some level already, right? Like, oh yeah, that is so insightful. Like just to be in that process and that energy and hear things. Okay, logically, I know some of the things that we talked about, but just this idea that I wouldn't have considered before. Oh, you're not responsible to make it happen. Like, okay, that's like manifestation 101, but it's like, okay, you know, in those places where that 4-year-old takes over, you forget you're not even in that, but you go unconscious, right? So it's like, oh, okay, and then we get to awaken that awareness. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. I mean, what I really am blown away by, what I really love about this process is that it does. I feel like that this would be true, although tears may be shed and all this stuff, anger will come up. At the end, it's like people are going to feel more love and joy, and they're like, "Boy, this was easy." Like that's the feeling I get about the process. Is that what people typically experience?
Well, once they learn it,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
But you know, there's a lot of resistance because that wounded part is so devoted to control
yeah.
and to avoiding pain and to having control over other people and situations
Right.
and numbing out and all that. So there's resistance because as we grow up, that wounded part gains more and more sense of power and control. It doesn't want to give it up. And so, the more we practice inner bonding, the quieter that wounded part gets. But it doesn't just give up. I mean, it took me quite a lot of years of practicing inner bonding before I could feel that wounded part of me just kind of let go and said, okay, you're doing better than I am. You can keep us safer than I can. I'm letting go, and just kind of curled in my heart. And so I don't hear that much from my wounded self anymore. Here and there she'll pop up, but life is so much easier when you're in the present. The wounded self is in the past or in the future. It's ruminating about the past. It's ruminating about the future. It's trying to control things, trying to control people, trying to control your feelings, making you miserable. I mean, just like your 4-year-old saying to you, well, now I got to work harder. That makes you miserable. That makes you tense. Right. And it's a false belief. It's not accurate at all. See, so when we operate from that, we're making ourselves miserable. We're creating tension, stress, anxiety, depression, guilt, shame, all of that. But when we practice inner bonding and develop those new neural pathways for the loving adult, see, for me, that's the first time I ever felt joy. I never felt joy until I began to understand that it was okay to love myself, that it was okay to take care of myself instead of take care of everybody else. In fact, it was the most loving thing to do, to take care of myself, so that then I really had love to share with others. Because when we're abandoning ourselves, we don't have any love to share with others. We're trying to get love rather than share love. And there's a huge difference in relationships when the intention is to get love and when the intention is to love ourselves and share our love. And that's what brings the joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I always say, like, when we're living in sync with our true natural self, it's like everything's self-love. Everything you're doing is self-love. Like every how you do everything is self-love, is how I see it anyway. It's like so it's so liberating when you see it that way. You realize life supports you best when you're just really loving yourself, right? It's just
that's right.
And we don't believe it a lot of times. We feel like, no, you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be shameful, then you're supposed to correct yourself and do better next time. And then of course you're gonna make mistakes and then beat up on yourself again and do better the next time. And like like these ideas. And it's just so unnecessary, all that unnecessary suffering, isn't it? So
oh yeah, I tell myself all the time, hey, you can make all the mistakes you want, you can fail. I'm going to love you no matter what, because you're a great soul in there, and it's my privilege to take care of you. So I don't care if you make mistakes, and I don't care if you fail, and I don't care if you fall on your face and mess up. You're lovable no matter what, because your lovability is in your kindness and your caring and your compassion and your empathy and your generosity and your honesty and your integrity. It's not in whether or not you make mistakes. See, and that makes life so much easier.
Yeah, that is so great. That's so great. Yay! All right. So, Margaret, we're starting to get closer to the end here of the show. So, I'd love for you to go ahead and share with everybody some of you've got a bunch of guests to share with people. I know, like right now at the time of the recording of this, you're in the process of sharing a new a kind of a new offering with the world, or you're launching your program right now. People probably will see this before that's concluded. So I was wondering if you wanted to share about that, and then we'll talk maybe about some of the other gifts you have for people.
Yeah, so I have a gift for people, the 4 secrets, I've got so many here. The 4 mistakes that block self-love and relationships. This is an ebook. And I think you've got the link that people can sign up for the free ebook. And then I'm doing free webinars, the 3 secrets to loving yourself and others. And then I'll be doing an 8-week, once a week course to teach the inner bonding process. And it's a very, very powerful course. People will learn these steps, and the course is called, it's a long title. It's the power to joyfully love your life, the transformation, the revolutionary inner bonding process for healing, freedom, and vibrant love. And so I know that if people read the ebook and join one of the webinars and then hopefully take the course, this is going to be totally life-changing for them.
Oh, that's great. And so we'll put that in the show notes for people that are able to take advantage of that while this is going on through May and, maybe a little bit the first day or two, maybe in June.
Yeah.
So they can take advantage of that for sure right now, I know, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
then yeah, and then anything else you want to share, like as far as we have some other gifts that you want to share with people if they happen to listen to the show, especially after that period of time. Would you like to share those gifts with them too today?
Well, I have a lot of ways that people can get gifts. They
Yeah.
can go onto our website and they can get a free 7-day course on our website that will help them learn the inner bonding process. If they join the webinar, they're going to get a meditation, an inner bonding meditation. They're going to get a book of daily. It's a 365-day illustrated inner bonding book that's going to really, really help them. If they sign up for the workshop, they're going to get a 9th week where I'm going to really do some laser sessions with people, and they're going to get it's a relationship package of interviews that we actually sell on the site for $140. They're going to get that for free when they join the course. So there's a lot available. I hope people download the ebook. They're going to get so much out of it, and enjoy the webinar and enjoy the course, because like I said, I know people's lives are going to change from this.
Awesome, awesome. So we've got the links in the show notes, and then if you just want to go and also check it out with Dr. Margaret Paul, you can go to innerbonding.com. So www.innerbonding.com, and you can navigate there to find other things you can participate in, including the 7-day course that you mentioned as well. So all those things are there at innerbonding.com. All right, great. So, Dr. Margaret, we're at the time of the show where I like to do a quick tune in for my guests with my energy scanning for a minute or two. Are you ready to receive?
Absolutely.
All right, yeah, let's see what wants to come through. Whatever wants to pop in here to share. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, wow. Okay. So I see this mass, like you're a transmitter of the divine. Like, yeah, I just see like so many points of transmission coming in through your energy fields, like psh, 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 psh. So you've got lots of information to share with people because you have access to wisdom from many different directions and spaces and places is how it comes to me. So that's pretty cool, like what I'm seeing there. Let's see what else comes through. Oh, okay. Uh-huh. So this is like, so you have a lot of like, I don't know where you stand on past life stuff, but like, if I look at the idea of past lives, even if we really look at it as only as a concept, I always say it doesn't matter if people believe, but like the concept, the energy is just showing me that like you've been like the sacrificial like kind of lamb, in past lives, in some of your past lives. So like that sense, oh, I just sacrificed myself for the higher good. And it's like this life, it's like the hell with that, like that's what I was being shown. So that's huge. And then the other thing I'm getting is that I'm hearing shamanistic, that you have shamanistic abilities. Now, you may utilize them again unconsciously, like it's just happening, in your processes when you even did what you did with me, like maybe just sort of happening your ability, the way you're connecting, even though like in the past, like, you many years ago, it's like it's hard for you to do that. Like, but you do have the connections there. And once you're in the connection, you really bring people, you do have a gift. Yeah, I'd say everybody may have it to some degree, maybe, but but like you have an ability to bring people into that deeper wavy state, just by your presence, that allows like this deeper work to happen, that makes the work go easier. So that's where you would have just like a little extra gift in the process of helping people in this process, if that makes sense. Then maybe someone else that operates it, I would say like everybody could do like my energy scanning process, but they may not do it quite the way I do or in the way that I do, right? So that's what I'm trying to say with you. So you have an incredible gift there. And the only thing I hear, like there's a bunch of things, but just a couple of things quickly, is like I just feel like there's just even more that wants to be shared by you, that your voice is just really like, more, I want to share more. It's just like really I want to do a sonic boom kind of feeling, like so I love that you're even as much impact as you've already done, like it's like getting prepared to go into that, like you go past the sound barrier or whatever, like shoom, like it's like so that's what I'm seeing in the throat chakra. So it looks really awesome. So those are just a few things I wanted to share today, Margaret. So.
That sounds great, because I can feel exactly what you're saying. I've got this big sort of inner impetus to just just out there big time, because I know how powerful it is. And I want people to be able to live their joyous lives, to be able to do what they came here to do. So I've got a deep, deep desire to just do exactly what you're talking about.
Awesome. So if people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com, and you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation that gets you in connection, opens up your energies and chakras, lets the alignments and the buzzing energy to come in, just make some money. Yeah, I like that. Lets the ideas and the insights come in at yoursacredpurpose.com. There's also opportunities once you opt in, and also on my homepage to potentially to receive energy scanning consultation from me as well. So go ahead and check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. And so, Dr. Margaret, we're going to go ahead and wrap up now. Do you have any last words for the audience?
Well, what I want people to know is that anybody can learn to do this. You don't have to have special gifts or talents. Anybody can learn these steps. Anybody can learn to love themselves. Anybody can learn to share love, and then learn to manifest their dreams, because that's about raising your frequency, which happens when you practice inner bonding. So, you don't have to have special gifts or talents to be able to learn this.
Not at all. I've been able to help people with, again, not your process, that's not mine, but similar sorts of tuning in and whatnot. No matter how blocked they thought they were, it's like, no, this can work. You can do this. You just don't think you can, but give it a try, and I promise that it will sink in. You'll get it, and it'll just keep going deeper the more that you do it. That's all. So. Okay, Dr. Margaret, so I'm so honored and blessed that you are on the show. It's such a gift for all of us, and appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much, Dan. Blessings to you.
Blessings, and thank you for all our audience. Keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till the next time, everyone. Goodbye for now. Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.